Ever felt like life has no meaning? Like you're drifting in a vast, empty void? Maybe existentialism has an answer. Or maybe, just maybe, it's leading you somewhere darker than you ever imagined. Imagine waking up one day with no rules, no set path, and no one telling you what to do. It sounds liberating, right? But what if the freedom to define everything about your life also meant you had to face the terrifying emptiness of a world that doesn't care about your choices? Existentialism promises us freedom, the chance to create meaning from scratch. But what if this gift is more like a curse? The promise that you are in control sounds empowering until the weight of every decision hits. Instead of being light and freeing, that freedom can feel like a trap. The pressure to make the right choices at every turn can leave you feeling paralyzed. When you realize that nothing is guaranteed, that you alone are responsible for giving your life meaning, the very freedom that was supposed to liberate you can end up isolating you in a place of uncertainty. This isn't just about asking, "What's my purpose?" It's about confronting a cold, indifferent universe. That's the dark side of existentialism. It forces you to face the vastness of freedom, but without any guide to help you navigate it. Let's unpack this further and take a deeper look at how freedom in existentialism isn't as simple as it first appears. The concept of freedom, as presented by philosophers like Sartre and Camus, seems enticing. Sartre famously said, "Existence precedes essence," meaning that we are born without a predetermined nature or purpose. We are free to create our own meaning and essence through our actions and decisions. On the surface, this sounds like a dream come true. No one tells you who you should be, and every decision is yours to make. But the darker side of this philosophy creeps in when you realize the immense responsibility that comes with it. Freedom means responsibility, and with responsibility comes fear. What if you make the wrong choice? What if your efforts lead to nothing? When every action is up to you, every mistake becomes more significant, and every regret becomes more unbearable. The burden of freedom, of knowing that you have to shape your own destiny without any guarantees, can quickly become overwhelming. Camus, too, brings us face to face with the absurdity of life. In his view, life is inherently meaningless, and it's absurd to search for meaning in an indifferent universe. But here's where the hidden danger lurks. If nothing has intrinsic meaning, then how do we justify our actions? How do we cope with the awareness that everything we do might eventually amount to nothing? Camus asks us to embrace the absurd, to rebel against it by continuing to live authentically in the face of meaninglessness. But that's a tough pill to swallow. How many people, faced with the cold reality that nothing inherently matters, can keep going without succumbing to despair? Friedrich Nietzsche, often associated with existentialism, argued that the absence of a higher power or universal truth left us with one powerful choice: to create our own values. But that's where the danger lies. When we strip away old certainties, we're left floating in a sea of uncertainty. The moral compass that once guided us now seems irrelevant. Without a higher meaning or shared morality, we're left to chart our own course. And that's where many get lost. The pressure to create meaning from nothing can drive us to frustration, anxiety, and existential dread. The true danger of existentialism isn't that it encourages freedom, but that it throws us into a world of endless choices and questions, where every step feels like a risk, and every decision carries the weight of ultimate importance. In a world of such freedom, how can we ever know we're on the right path? And when every path is yours to create, how do you handle the weight of failure? So, how can we navigate these dangers? How do we live with the heavy weight of freedom without succumbing to the shadows it casts? The answer lies not in rejecting freedom or purpose, but in accepting that freedom isn't a burden to be carried alone. The key is understanding that we don't need to have all the answers. The path forward doesn't need to be perfectly clear, and that uncertainty is part of the human experience. The first step out is embracing mindfulness. When the weight of the world feels too heavy, grounding ourselves in the present moment helps us avoid being overwhelmed by the future or stuck in the past. Instead of obsessing over the endless choices before us, we can learn to embrace the beauty of small, everyday moments. This shift in focus can be liberating. It allows us to live authentically without the pressure to have everything figured out. Another way to deal with this overwhelming freedom is through creativity. When you create, whether through art, writing, or something else, you transform your existential anxiety into something tangible. Creating meaning in the face of a meaningless world can be incredibly powerful. It shifts the focus from worrying about the purpose of life to embracing the process of shaping it. Through creativity, we learn that meaning isn't something we find. It's something we actively build. Finally, building connections with others can offer immense relief. Existentialism often highlights the isolation that comes with realizing the lack of inherent meaning. But in reality, we aren't meant to go through life alone. Sharing our thoughts, our doubts, and our struggles with others who are also seeking answers can provide a sense of solidarity. This community of shared experience helps lift the burden of freedom by reminding us that we're not in it alone. Ultimately, the key to overcoming the dark side of existentialism lies in reconciling freedom with acceptance. Yes, freedom is a double-edged sword, and yes, it can lead us into despair, but it can also lead us to a deeper understanding of who we are and what we value. Embracing our uncertainty, using creativity as a tool for meaning, and finding strength in human connection. All of these practices can help us navigate the complex landscape of existential freedom. As we wrap up, think about what we've discussed. The dark side of existentialism isn't just about the absence of meaning. It's about the immense responsibility that comes with creating meaning. At first, it sounds liberating, but as we dive deeper, we see that this freedom can quickly turn into an overwhelming burden, one that leaves us questioning every step, doubting every decision, and worrying that we might be lost. Yet, this struggle is part of what makes us human. The question isn't whether the struggle exists, it's how we choose to face it. We don't need to have everything figured out, and we don't need to solve the puzzle of life in a single moment. Instead, we can embrace the uncertainty, make peace with the ambiguity, and allow freedom to be a guide, not a trap. So, as you step away from this discussion, ask yourself, how will you handle the weight of your own freedom? Will you let it paralyze you with doubt? Or will you take ownership of your choices, even when they lead into the unknown? Life doesn't come with a blueprint, and that's both terrifying and liberating. It's up to us to decide how we navigate the journey. If you've found value in this exploration, share your thoughts below, and let's continue this conversation. If you're ready to take control of your existential journey, subscribe and join me as we dive deeper into the mysteries of life. Remember, in a world of endless possibilities, it's up to you to create your own path. How will you make yours? So here's the question. Will you keep letting stress control you? Or will you take back your power? The truth is, life will never be free of chaos. You will face hardships. You will experience pain. But now you have a choice. You can let these moments break you, or you can use them to build an unshakable mind. The same way Marcus Aurelius did as Rome burned, the way Viktor Frankl did in Auschwitz, the way countless others have throughout history. Your stress isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. Every challenge is a lesson, every hardship an opportunity to grow, and every moment of suffering a test of who you choose to become. So what will you do with that knowledge? Will you apply it? Will you shift your mindset? Or will you let another day slip by, chained to the same old worries? The choice is yours. But if you're ready to break free, to master your emotions instead of being mastered by them, then welcome. You're now walking the path of the Stoic. And if you found this valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Share this wisdom, subscribe for more insights. And remember, true freedom begins in the mind.